We have roll call and declaration of quorum, please.
Maybe it's better.
Mr. Lau.
Present.
Mr. Griffiths.
Present.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
Dr. Matusek.
Here.
Mrs. Charles. Here.
I'd like to welcome our visitors this evening. There was nobody on the sign-up sheet. Nobody has contacted me.
No, sir.
Nobody contacted Mr. Sternberger. So we'll move on to a presentation by Angel Johnston, Blassingame, PC, of the current audit report for 2022-2023 school year.
I'll turn it over to Evan.
Fiscal year, rather.
I'm going to come join you right here so that the camera can get me. It's good to be with you all. Most of you all look familiar. You've probably seen me before in the past. But for those of you who don't remember, my name is Evan Blassingame. I was the lead auditor this past year for your fiscal year 23 year audit. What I've passed around to you, I've provided you with a full copy of our audit report that's been issued, and we'll go to the State Department after tonight's meeting, and then also a little summary here that kind of goes over what my responsibilities is as your auditor, what you all's responsibilities are as you're the auditee. In that report there's a lot of words, a lot of numbers. Our job as your auditor is to come and give you an opinion on your financial statements. Look at your financial statements, and then at the end of it, through all the tests that we've done, the questions that we've asked, give you an opinion stating, do we believe that the financial statements that you all have prepared and provided to us, are they reasonable? Doesn't mean that there's not any errors in there, but in our opinion, are those statements, if somebody were to look at those, would they have a good idea of the financial position here at Hennessey Public Schools? And we've given you another good opinion on the financial statements. After looking at those, that's audit report there states that we believe that those are presented fairly in a material respect. Through there, after that, if you don't have any questions on any of the financial stuff, we'll go over a comparison here that we always go with your fiscal year 22 compared to the 23. It's in this summary here, about the second or third page there. You can see at the top, it's got your fund balances comparative year. General fund was up quite a bit, $2 million. Building fund up a little bit, $760,000. Child nutrition down slightly. And then down below there, it's got a breakout of your revenues, expenditures compared to year. If we'll look at general fund there, your local sources were up $152,000. Same with your county sources, we're up about $93,000. Just the valuations here in your district and ad valorem and property taxes collected were up in the 23 year compared to 22 year. State sources, big boost this last year. Gross production tax money that's coming into your school district was up quite a bit, as well as the state aid money that you get from the State Department of Education. Federal sources down a little bit. That's your ESSER money, the COVID money in years past. You got a lot of that last year that was spent. Didn't quite spend as much as that in the 23 year. Expenditures were up a little bit. A big part of that was payroll. Payroll here in the district was up about $170,000. Most of that's right there in the general fund. Also purchased 2 new buses last year is the cause for that increase. Building fund, just a slight increase there in your revenues. Again, that's just ad valorem taxes that's going in your building fund. Expenditures down, purchased a piece of property for about $80,000 in the 22 year. That was not duplicated in the 23 year. Child nutrition, this money here's kind of gone up and down. In the years past, in 22, the federal government paid for all of breakfast and all of lunches for the students to eat free. That went away in fiscal year 23. And so the kids had to start paying for their own meals, so those federal reimbursements dropped. And unfortunately, you don't have 100% collections here in your district. And so some of those local collections, although we're up, we're not near as much as what federal paid you in the past to cover those kids' meals. Expenditures up $58,000, nothing in particular there. We've all been through a restaurant or bought food at the grocery store in the past, and just food costs are up there. So nothing significant really that stuck out, just food costs were up a little bit in your district. If you go to that next page, there were a few things that we wanted to bring to your attention. As we come out here, we do a lot of, we ask a lot of questions, do a lot of tests, and there were 3 things that I would like to bring to your attention. We looked at a fundraiser this past year, and we always try to reconcile the cash received to what hit the bank, make sure that that's getting deposited timely, that it's all getting deposited. It appeared that on this cookie dough fundraiser that the choir did, the sponsor was not issuing receipts to the students. So it was really hard to make sure and track that all that money was turned in, got taken to the bank, and that it was in a timely manner. So we want to make sure anytime cash is collected, anytime you're doing those fundraisers, make sure those sponsors have a receipt book. They're issuing receipts to those children. The next one here has to do with an interest payment. You all have some outstanding bonds, and out of your sinking fund, you pay these bonds back. And when we were looking for an interest payment that should have been paid for $4,000 out of the sinking fund, we noticed that it was actually paid out of a bond fund 34. And so we got to make sure that those sinking fund payments, those dollars are earmarked to pay back these bonds. This interest payment was just made out of incorrect fund, and that's already been corrected. You all have transferred that money. But again, something that we noticed is going through there. Just want to make sure those bond and interest payments are being paid out of the correct fund. The last one here is in regards to year-end reserves. A year-end reserve is something that as June 30th approaches, these are payments, they're obligations of the school district to spend, but you won't actually spend until after June 30th. You know, these are items that have come in, but maybe you don't get the invoice till later. Construction projects that are completed, but again, the invoice doesn't come in till later. So it's kind of like an accounts payable. You kind of estimate the accounts payable at year end, what you expect to spend for the fiscal year 23 money that won't get paid actually till out of that. In the child nutrition, you had $14,885.90 in reserves, accounts payable in your child nutrition fund at June 30. In testing the reasonableness of those, we go through and look to see how much of that was spent to just make sure that that is reasonable, and the $14,885.90. None of that was spent, and so in essence your reserves were overstated. And what that does is your fund balance at the year end, that reserves comes out of there, so your fund balance was understated. And so you just want to make sure going through year end, Timberly and Ginger understand the reserves. This is not a comprehension problem. It was just oversight. It happens. They thought they were going to spend some more that didn't actually come in, and so I have no problems or no issues moving forward with this. Just again, wanted to bring it to your attention when you're looking at those June 30th financial statements, looking at those year-end reserves, just going through those invoices, going through those items that you're expecting to pay, closing out any POs that aren't valid and don't need to be open still. But all these have been corrected. If you look in the very back of the audit report, Mr. Sternberger goes through there, and I think it's the very second to last page, gives a response to these findings. And so all of these have already been taken care of and fixed and corrected, and I don't anticipate any of this to be an issue moving forward. Are there any questions that I can answer for anybody while I am here? Great. Well, with that, we have a sheet that needs to be signed to say that I was here to present this, and that will get turned into the State Department of Education, and then you all have met your obligation for another year's worth of audits. If there's anything that I can do for you throughout the year, please feel free to call, right? You don't have to just see me once a year or when I call you in for an interview when we come out here in the summertime. Our office line's always open. I'm always happy to visit with you and help answer any questions that I can answer for you if things arise that are out of the ordinary or you're not quite sure of. Please feel free to reach out to my office and call me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Evan.
Y'all have a nice night.
Item number 4, consent agenda. Does anybody have anything you'd like to pull out and discuss?
I do. Do not.
You not? Amy? From strong? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Mr. Lau,
Aye.
Mr. Griffin,
Yes.
Mr. Tillman,
Yes.
Dr. Matusek,
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Item number 5, regular business. Discussion of possible board action regarding the schedule of regular board meetings for the calendar year.
What are you reading?
Whoa.
We're going to do Title IX policy. I'm not the,
Yes.
you're in consent, I believe.
You're in last month.
You're in last month for the second
No, I'm
time
not.
during your presidency.
I am not. I am not. Can I be?
You may.
I may be. I am not. It says it right here. I clicked right there. November 13th.
Well, the fact that you did the first part of
All
that.
right, well, just give me a minute here to catch up with everybody else. That is why when I said it's not online, that's where I was off. Sorry about that, guys. Oh, boy,
I mean, you're the
number
leader of
five.
this meeting, we
I am.
can talk about, whatever it is you
No,
want to talk
I
about.
wondered why it was reading different here. But. Item number 5, discussion and possible board action regarding Title IX policy.
So if you remember at the beginning of the year, we created the Title IX coordinator position, that's Mr. Crosswhite. And when you hear Title IX, we always think of female and women's sports, the equity. This is a Title IX issue dealing with the protocols related to sexual harassment of employees or students while on school. And right at 3 weeks ago, I think it was, we brought in an attorney from OSSBA, went through about a 2-hour in-service on, proper protocol. We did have a section, a policy in place. This is just more thorough, spells out the protocols a lot better than what we had, making sure, being through these types of situations before, it's just a process of making sure you go through every step, and for the employee's benefit, for the administrator's benefit, for the school's benefit, to protect all bodies involved. And so that's really what it is. It's just getting caught up to speed. We were hoping by this time there's going to be some changes from the federal government on this, and they thought it would be here by now. It's not. We want to go ahead and get what we have in place, and then we'll probably be revisiting it here as soon as the new federal guidelines come in and put in if there are any changes, what we need to do. So that's where this comes from. Mr. Crosswhite is here if anybody has any questions for him. He worked on developing this with our policy, looked at other schools, looked at requirements, OSSBA recommendations, and so.
Very good.
I'm good.
Okay.
Do we need a motion to adopt that policy?
And I would recommend to the board, yes, that's the policy that we adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Moving on, section 5.2, discussion and possible board action regarding the student mental health protocol policy.
So this is kind of the housekeeping chore as far as our accreditation is concerned. As I go through, this is a new requirement that we have to have. I think this is actually the second year for this. So we've updated it to new, anything that changes a little bit. We got this, basically it is for if we find out that we have a student who possibly threatened to harm themselves more or others, and the protocol once again that we must go through. We contract with outside counseling services for students beyond what our counselors can handle. But this is, we will sign a memorandum of understanding with the Behavior Center in our region, which we fall in Red Rock region. We don't use them, we have in the past. We currently use Wright and Stacy Klein. But if the need be, we could use them, but they would be the ones that would, and they're looking this over. They would look this over, make recommendations, make sure it falls in line. It says that we will annually take the OPNA, which is the Oklahoma Prevention Needs Assessment, goes to the students, and it's an anonymous test as far as what they get back of, is vaping occurring in your school? Do you feel safe? Do you feel it's so just a multitude of questions that they get. Once again, the identification of a student in need, securing and stabilizing the situation, and then in the event of reintroducing them back into a setting that they're comfortable in. So that's kind of the goal of this 8-page policy. So.
Questions?
It's your recommendation to approve?
It is
this?
my recommendation to approve the policy as written.
Move to approve.
Second.
New business.
Well, let's vote on it.
Okay. We'll do that too.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr. Tillman.
Yes.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charmison. Yes.
Now, number 6, new business.
No new business.
Item number 7, superintendent's reports.
On the superintendent's report, if you've been by the transportation building on 51, they've got it staked out. Kind of is with Kyler, project manager on that, and or the superintendent, and they will be starting dirt work maybe by the end of next week. So here within the next couple of weeks, they should be starting on the dirt work on that. Everything is moving along pretty good. There was one situation that in one part of the bids, it called for 22-foot doors on the south edge like we have right now. And in another part of the bid, it called for 20-foot doors. And you guys know how those mirrors stick out and everything else. With the guy that bid, he bid the 20s, which technically wasn't wrong. And if we wanted to do a change order for all the doors, it was like $3,200. I said, do it. That's money well spent of changing mirrors and just that much tighter of a space. Plus it'll match up our existing. And then the other thing that's kind of come up is having not really an issue, but just some stuff with what Scott Holtz and our engineering that you guys have met. Things have kind of changed a little bit from when he originally drew the plans. They thought that we could take the wash bay water after it went through the oil separator. They thought we could put it into our existing septic system, maybe run additional lines. And after visiting with DEQ, that is not allowable. So we're gonna have to get two 1,500-gallon tanks that will sit there. It'll be about an additional $7,000. So after the oil separator, then it'll sit in these tanks. And so then our next choice is, do we have them cleaned out, and every time they need to be cleaned out, which depending on usage, part of the year is gonna be a little higher than others, you know, maybe month and a half, and other times maybe 2.5 months. It's gonna be about $700 to clean them out. Or we can look at getting a lift station and getting it tied into the city, and that was around $40,000. So unless everybody's comfortable, I think the monthly, and we can always go back.
So this just goes to, you said a 15,000 gallon?
1,500, 250.
Just a holding tank? To be drawn out? It doesn't go into a lateral field or?
No, it can't go into a lateral field because the water, as it comes out here, is considered industrial waste.
Yeah.
Water from what?
The wash bay, they'll just have soap. It is soap, so we don't really need an oil separator, but we're getting one anyway, you know, but it is considered industrial wastewater, and that's why we can't put it into the septic system that we have and just run additional.
It can't be used in an aerobic system either?
No, we checked on that.
How about just pumping it down the creek?
Like they used to.
Would you please point the camera at that?
So,
In jest.
Could you rewind?
so that, I just wanted, if you're paying attention to bills and as they're coming out, you're looking between the garage doors and that, it'd be about an extra 10,000 than what the bid said.
So what is the solution to, I guess, discarding that wastewater?
You'd have to call someone.
Pump it out
down.
or tie it into the city's line, which the first part of getting it to the city's line,
Lift station.
with the lift station, which was estimated around 40,000.
Right. So what do you think the monthly cost of pumping it out will be? Do you know?
Gary didn't think we would fill up two 1,500s in a month, even in a busy month.
That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, in the winter, you're not gonna use it much at
Oh,
all.
like-
And it will get
Hennessey
no
septic.
runoff or anything like that? It'll only be what we physically put
It'd be
into?
what we collect, yes. Yeah, no run,
1,500 just doesn't seem like very much.
no runoff. Two 1,500s don't seem like very much.
It's bigger than your septic tank.
Yeah, and I've had to have that thing.
And they thought they could put these underground. That's what they're checking on that too. So,
Just call someone like Hennessey Septic.
yeah,
pump it
that's
down.
who they talk to.
Okay.
To get their numbers from. So my thought is 40,000 seems like a
And
lot
then
at
he puts
first.
it down.
Let's go through a year, see how much it is and say, well, you know, it's gonna take 18 years to pay it off, or 5. If it's 5, then let's go ahead and invest in it. But
You said about 700 a month, or 700 every time.
700 each time, as of right now, that was what Eric quoted. Yeah. So that's where we are on transportation. So the building's coming in mid-December, and they'll get started right after that. Parking lot, just to kind of keep you updated on that, I sent you the original layout. Scott at Holson Engineering, they've got the survey back. They're getting everything, the elevations, they're getting all that taken care of. They're on pace to still have the plans where we'll be able to put them out in February for the bid date as presented. And one thing is, as they do any drainage, whether on top or any lines below, sewer, whatever it may be, they're keeping in mind that we go back and revisit the drainage project on the east side, and that will tie in together. So that way there won't be a oops and after the fact, so.
And the plans that you sent, the design that is for an all-one, or we doing field house side?
They're gonna, from that northwest corner where you enter into the football parking lot area, right there off the football field, the northwest corner,
Closer to the spot, or the,
the road on Mitchell,
by the north.
By the swimming pool?
Yes.
No, down, northwest corner of the football field.
Oh, the football field,
Yeah.
okay, the main entrance, I got
Yes,
you.
the main entrance. So basically, everything south of that will be an alternate bid too, and then everything on the north would be the primary bid. That way we'll get 2 bids in, and if we feel like we have enough and we want to do the alternate bid too, we have it. And if not, then we've got the plans for down the road. So that's the way they're gonna break that up. So as you look through that, if there's any, possible changes, I did mention, it is, if, like where you go back to where the transportation building is now, and we have that gate there, with the parking, Patrick brought up one time, conversation, especially with the bleachers there now, that's a tough turnaround. So they're gonna redo the parking lot anyway, but I think we'll probably just restructure how we have our fencing maybe, and then, loop around there. So that's what I talked to them about. But think about things like that as you see it, if there's something else comes up, so. But I did make them aware of that.
How many parking spaces is that on the, what I'll call the Part B, the south, by the field house? It looks like a parking.
What does it say here? 67 parking spots directly south of the field house and 37 on the west side of the football fence.
That's quite a few.
So 114? Isn't that right?
I mean, you're almost doubling the size. I mean,
104.
just looking at the overlay, it's almost doubling the size of that.
I think what our football program's done the last couple of years was allowing the visitors, band and football buses to park there along Mitchell Road, which, that keeps them out of the parking areas. So yeah, there's parking spaces there, but for those kind of activities, I think there's buses parked all along.
Cool.
Auditorium, Jack, I put Jack in charge of this, and he's contacted different companies, got a hold of 3. So far, we've got back 1 bid, still waiting on some others, but
For lights.
for all 3 sections of lighting. So if you have questions on kind of what he's getting, this was the same package, the 3 different packages that we had about a year and a half ago. Right now, the 1 bid that we have is just roughly under $300,000. The other company that he's talking to, we told him that, hey, we want to get this ordered before December. So I think by the time our next board meeting comes up that it'll be in the encumbrances, whether it'll be with this company or if somebody else comes in. But right now it's looking like, AVL, who's a very quality company. And so,
Out of Oklahoma City.
yeah, so if nothing changes, then I'll update you in an email, and that will be in next month's.
What are the 3, obviously stage, house, and,
And some robotic lights,
okay,
like robotic spotlights.
good. It can be controlled in the control room.
Right.
Okay.
Or probably on your phone.
I don't want to know what the bid was a couple of years ago that we don't
You
know.
don't need to print it out, yeah. It was a little less, but not a lot.
Not
It really
substantial.
wasn't as much less as what I thought either.
Yeah.
How about our
Like building costs.
LEDs?
So this part was not included in that.
I know.
Yeah. Do you guys want the LEDs, the new ones?
Well, wasn't he gonna come back? I thought you.
He'll give us a price if we want. When I originally called him, I just thought they'd forgotten. They had not. That was not part of it.
Okay, I thought
So
he was.
with these
For
being,
which part?
these lights right
In
here.
here?
Yeah, these are pretty new. They're not like.
These meet all the rooms down the hall. I mean,
Yeah.
this building.
Yeah, they're this and outdoor, yeah.
Well, evidently, we're gonna need to maybe look at outdoor.
Maybe put somewhere for the lighting trail for Patrick.
It could be the Patrick Griffin Memorial Lighting Trail.
Let's make them robotic though, make it guess.
So we follow you when you walk, yeah.
So, goals, I don't know if you noticed goals in the old gym. I don't know how long it's been since you've been in there, but this came up, Coach Richardson really wants kids to be able to shoot and use all the goals. We've got one up in the corner that nobody knows the last time that it's been down. We got motors that some may work, some don't. None of them have this proper safety cables. He's had one company out that they're not gonna work on somebody else's old product, so they just wanna demo everything. We've got another group that's coming in to look at it as well. That first quote we had is right around 40,000, so.
To do what?
To take down the 4 goals in the old gym and put up 4 new goals in the old
The
gym.
retractable goals.
The
On the
retract-
sides.
On the
Those on the
sides, yeah,
sides.
that way you can swing them down, have 6 goals to shoot at practice. So if everybody's comfortable with that, I plan on moving forward there. Talked with Terrell on the sign. He's got some good ideas. Just been busy.
On the corner.
On the corner. So, but he's got some really nice ideas. So when he gets a rough draft of that, then I'll shoot those to you and get some feedback and we go from there. He's going to mimic right now what we basically have at the football field. I told him I just want it bigger, taller, wider and taller, and something that dressier. And I said, you're the artist, you design something. So, and then roof issues, that we've had with the add-on additions to the dome. So, visited with the roofer numerous times, they've come out to patch it, the GCs have, and we've gone through this for the 2.5 years I've been here. Finally, got the warranty company to come up and look at the project, and based on the plans we found, the flashing was not put in correctly. Now, what they're reviewing right now, the warranty company and the roofers, they're going back to see if there were some submittals that maybe Wind Construction has, and that other than that, then it's kind of cut and dry. Hey, you need to come back, and because you guys are the ones that signed off on it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. But just if there's any issues moving forward, just that's be something to continue to bring back to you. But we've found out why for sure it's not working and working properly. So.
Should have put the
I
blame
mean,
on
keeping the
now.
rain out of your office.
Keeping the rain out. It went, 9 months, didn't leak, because that's when it didn't rain, so. But
Didn't
it
use your
worked fine
windshield
then.
wipers either.
Yeah, it worked fine then. And then any other projects that anybody else sees or comments, look at additional lighting out in the auditorium, parking. Other than that, anything. They are supposed to look at getting doors or covers for the upstairs. We have an owl that comes into the football press box every year. And so Patrick was thinking about that the other day, so
Those are not pleasant.
they thought they could get to that here pretty soon.
Okay.
And other than that, I don't have anything.
Any questions for Mr. Sternberger? Item number 8, adjourn.
Second. That wasn't.
That wasn't motion in the.
Mr. Lau.
Aye.
Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Mr.
In the
Tillman.
spirit of the motion.
Dr. Matusek.
Yes.
Mrs. Charles. Yes.